Well, hello again, girls and boys. I'm happy to be speaking with you again today. So I had lunch and now I'm ready to make another video for you guys. So we discussed this morning, again, important text structures that we can find in a text, right? So these are the different ways that text can be organized, right? And if we understand the different ways that a text can be organized, then it will be easy for us to understand the story, to understand the facts that are shared with us, basically anything the text is trying to tell us, right? So let's do a quick review and then we'll continue with our lesson. So we said that one thing that you can find in a text, especially an informational text, which is what we're talking about, texts that have facts, is descriptions. So any book that you read about science or history, or it's going to have a description of the situation or the animal or the scientific term. Anything at all can be described, right? Okay. Another one is the sequence. So if you read a recipe, for example, if you have a cookbook, you can go check at home. You may have a cookbook, and that is an example of informational text that will have the steps, right? First, you beat the eggs. Then you pour the milk. Later, you add the flour. Now you mix, right? So that's a type of text that is organized as a sequence. So you know how to make the best cake, right? You want to follow the steps. Yes? Okay. Another text structure that is mentioned in your book is cause and effect. Why something happened, or what happened, and why it happened, right? In a minute, we're going to talk about some of those structures that we can find in the story for this week. We are friends. We're friends. The next one is problem solution, right? So sometimes in a science textbook, they're going to tell you about some problem. Like they might be talking about the ocean, the pollution in the ocean, right? That's a problem, right? And then there might be another chapter where they're telling you about the different ways that people are trying to solve the problem, the solutions for that problem, right? So that text, that reading is organized according to the problem solution structure, right? Okay, and then we have compare and contrast. And I did the Venn diagram here because when you see that, you're going to remember, right? So you compare two things, two animals, two characters in a story, two cities, two problems, and then so those are the things they have in common, right? And then you talk about the differences, and that's contrast, right? Okay, so if we look at our story for this week, I started marking the pages, and I end up marking pretty much all the pages because we can find some of these structures almost on every page, okay? So maybe even when you were reading it this morning, you figured that out. So I will ask you to please read it again after we have our talk and to think if you can figure out where all of these are, okay? Even though I'm going to tell you some of those, but it will be very important that you read it again. You can discuss it with someone in your house. Tell them about all these structures that we can find in informational text, okay? So, for example, on the first page, they are talking about, they're actually using the description structure. They're describing ways in which animals can help one another survive. And that's basically the question they're asking you to focus here, right? They say, find the details that describe different ways that animals help one another to survive. So if we look at these, well, I'm just looking and I see, for example, it says they share food or a home. That's true. Sometimes in one tree, you have different types of birds living there. You may have a raccoon there too, right? So they share the space, right? Also, they might share food, right? And I think they give you some examples later how animals can share food, right? Okay, they also talk about how they cluster together sometimes for protection, right? So they walk in packs, for example, or if it's cold, they might all sit closer together for warmth, right? Yeah. Okay, so that would be an example of description, right? Which is a very important text structure, especially in science and scientific books. Then the next page, they actually tell you, okay? So they're actually helping you a lot in this book. They're telling you there is a problem and solution structure. So it says, underline the details that help you recognize the clownfish's problem and the solution to its problem. Okay? So I'm going to read part of it, okay? It says, the bright little clownfish needs protection from its enemies. That's the problem, right? It needs protection because it's so little and it can't really defend themselves, right? Okay, so that is going to give you the solution, right? Sometimes there are some words that are going to give you a clue of what's the text structure. Remember when we talked about sequence? The clues are first, second, last, right? Then you know, oh wait, they're telling me things in sequence. Here is like, this and this happened, so this is what we did. That's the solution, right? Okay, good. So it says, so it chooses a poisonous sea anemone to be its bodyguard. Okay, so how does it protect from enemies? It hits in the anemone. And if you guys have seen Finding Nemo, you know that anemones, if other animals touch the anemone has these chemicals that it kind of hurt the other animals, right? But the clownfish, they are immune to that. It doesn't bother them, right? So that's pretty smart, right? That's how nature works, right? Pretty smart. Okay, so there you go. So this is an example of a problem and the solution, right? That's how they organize this text to help you understand how clownfish protect themselves, right? Okay, very good. On the next page, there's another example of problem and solution, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I would like for you to read. It's about the blind shrimp and the goby. So I want you to read that and figure out what the problem is and what's the solution, okay? And you can send your teacher a message on class tag or on Google Classroom in the reading section of Google Classroom, and you can tell them, if you want, that you figured out what part in this paragraph needs to be highlighted to show the problem and solution. I'm sure they will appreciate that. Okay, here, this is a different one, so I'm going to tell you about it, okay? It says, underline the sentence that describes what causes the sperm whale to feel better. Okay, so let's read. The red phalaropes follow a pod of sperm whales as they swim far out to sea. The birds hover over the water and wait for a whale to come up for air. As soon as the whale surfaces, the birds land on its back and begin to pry parasites from cuts and cracks on its skin. Being free from these pests makes the whale feel better, and the phalaropes enjoy a tasty meal. Okay, so let's see. So the whale feels better. That's the effect. Why? That's the cause. So why do they feel better? That would be the cause and effect. The effect is it feels better. The question is why? Because, that's the cause, these birds, the phalaropes, they eat the parasites. Parasites are like little tiny kind of insects that are very annoying, like itchy probably. They're kind of itchy and uncomfortable, right? And parasites, they cannot suck on your blood, or they eat part of your skin, so you really don't want those. So the birds eat those and make the whale feel better. So that's an example of how a text is organized with cause and effect. Right? Okay, good job. Let's see. Okay, in page 282, there's another example of sequence, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Again, I want you to read that page and see if you can figure out what kind of information they're giving you there in sequence. How that helps you understand the red ants and the large blue butterfly, okay? How the relationship between those two animals are explained here through sequence, okay? So you can do that part, and you can text your teacher through Google Classroom and let them know that you figure that out, okay? Okay, let's see. Okay, there's another example of cause and effect in the impalas and the baboons. So I trust that you guys can figure that out. Okay, now, one of the pages that we ask you to do this week is page 292, right? And they already tell you what the structure is. They say it's problem and the solution, right? They give you a great example, which is the clownfish. And we already talked about that one, right? So the problem is it needs protection, and the solution is it chooses the poisonous sea anemone to protect him, right? Okay. So here they're talking about the blind shrimp. So I would like for you to try to do this on your own. And when you have a chance this week during Google Meets, you can ask your teachers about this page, and you can confirm that you did it right, okay? Okay, so just try your best, and remember, we're all here to help you and answer any questions that you have.